In the annals of American jurisprudence, we often hear about the perfect crime. But rarely do we hear about the perfect victim. A person so convincingly murdered that the state sends a man to prison for life. The Supreme Court upholds the verdict, and the Smithsonian Institution is called in to examine the remains. Welcome to Decades of Darkness. This is the story of Bill Wilson. It is a story of a broken marriage, a vanishing wife, and a set of human remains found in a dark cave that seemed to seal a man's fate. But more than that, it is a story of how a small community's rumors can turn into a legal execution, and the one neighbor who refused to believe the proven truth. Our story begins in 1900 in Blount County, Alabama. Bill Wilson, a hardworking local farmer, married a woman named Jennie Wade. For a few years, they lived the quiet, grueling life of turn-of-the-century pioneers. They had 3 children together, the last born in 1907. But by 1908, the quiet was gone. The marriage had fractured. Jennie left Bill, taking their youngest child, only 19 months old, back to her family. Bill, left with the 2 older children, moved in with his father. It was a messy, bitter separation that eventually led to a courtroom for divorce proceedings. Then, the unthinkable happened. In the middle of the legal battle, Jennie Wade and her toddler vanished. They didn't just leave town. They seemed to evaporate into the Appalachian mist. If it had just been Jennie, perhaps the rumors wouldn't have caught fire so quickly. But to understand why the people of Blount County were so quick to point the finger at Bill Wilson, you have to understand the atmosphere of hysteria that had already gripped the region. Shortly before Jennie was last seen, local whispers claimed that another young woman, Jane McClendon, a farmer's daughter, had also mysteriously disappeared. 2 women, 1 small county, 0 leads. In the isolated valleys of inland Alabama, the lack of information was filled by a growing dread. Rumors began to circulate at the general store and over backyard fences. People began to whisper that a monster was living among them. While Jane McClendon's case would eventually fade into the shadows of history, her disappearance served as the match that lit the fire of suspicion. By the time Jennie disappeared, the community wasn't just looking for a missing person, they were looking for a villain. And they found one in Bill Wilson. For 4 years, the suspicion simmered. There were no bodies, no bloodstains, and no witnesses. But in April 1912, the evidence finally surfaced. A local man named A.W. Tidwell was rambling along the banks of the Little Warrior River near the old Wilson home. Under a limestone bluff, he spotted something tucked away, a decayed wooden mat or a basket. When he pulled it back, he recoiled in horror. Tucked beneath the mat were human skeletons. The discovery sent a shockwave through the county. The community didn't need a forensic lab. They knew. 1 adult skeleton, 1 child skeleton. It matched the missing Jennie Wilson and her baby perfectly. Soon, witnesses like James House began telling the authorities certain things they had heard around the time Jennie disappeared. Bill Wilson was arrested and charged with a double murder that had allegedly happened 5 years prior. The trial began in February 1914. The prosecution's case was built entirely on circumstantial evidence and the bones in the bluff. Bill Wilson stood before the court, 35 years old, a man who had lived his entire life in that community. He pleaded his innocence. He told the jury his wife wasn't dead, she had simply left. He even claimed he had heard she was living in another state. But the jury looked at the bones. They looked at the wooden mat found near his home. They listened to James House's stories. They were out for only a short time. The verdict: guilty of murder in the first degree. The sentence: life imprisonment in the Alabama State Penitentiary. Bill Wilson was sent away to break rocks and serve his time. The case was closed for everyone, except for one man. William Woodard was Wilson's neighbor. He had watched the trial, and something didn't sit right with him. He was so convinced of Wilson's innocence that he did something extraordinary. He took out an advertisement in the local paper. He proposed a bonus. If the community would raise a purse of $500, a small fortune in 1916, he would spend the next 12 months finding Jennie Wilson. He told the public, "I have no interest in the matter other than to see that justice is done." Woodard wasn't just a dreamer, he was a detective. He began following a trail of rumors that Jennie had been seen in Georgia and Indiana. But while he searched for the living, he also decided to investigate the dead. Woodard took the murder evidence, the bones found under the bluff, and sent them to the Smithsonian Institution in Washington, D.C. He asked a simple question: who do these belong to? The reply came from Dr. Alesh Hrdlicka, one of the most famous anthropologists in the world. His report was a bombshell. The bones didn't belong to two people. They belonged to 4 or 5 different individuals. More importantly, they weren't modern. They were ancient remains, likely from a Native American burial site that had been there for centuries. Bill Wilson had been convicted of murdering his wife using the bones of people who had been dead since before the United States was a country. You would think this would be enough to open the prison gates. It wasn't. Woodard presented the Smithsonian report to the Board of Pardons and the Alabama Supreme Court. The response was chilling. The court affirmed the conviction. The parole board rejected his petition. Their reasoning? They weren't convinced that Wilson hadn't killed her anyway, and they felt a life sentence was light enough, even if there was some doubt about the bones. Bill Wilson remained in a cage, while the state essentially admitted they didn't care if the evidence was fake. Then came 1916. A letter arrived in the hands of Mrs. James Wysonant in Altoona, Alabama. It was from a man named John Wilson, living in Bicknell, Indiana. Through a series of coincidences and redirected mail, the truth finally broke through. John Wilson wrote that he was living with a woman named Jennie. When she was told that her former husband was serving a life sentence for her murder, Jennie Wilson didn't hesitate. She said she would return to Alabama to save him, if someone could provide the train fare. On a Monday morning in 1916, the 10:06 train pulled into the Oneonta station. A great crowd had gathered. They were there to see a ghost. As the steam cleared, a woman stepped onto the platform. The crowd gasped. People who had known her for years recognized her instantly. But the most emotional moment came when 2 teenage girls, aged 13 and 15, stepped forward. They were the daughters Jennie had left behind 10 years earlier. They hadn't seen their mother since they were toddlers. In front of the entire town, they embraced the woman the state of Alabama had proven was a skeleton in a cave. The sheriff didn't wait. He wired the governor immediately. That afternoon, the prison gates swung open. After 3.5 years of wrongful imprisonment, Bill Wilson was a free man. The aftermath was a mixture of celebration and deep shame for the state. MC Allgood, a member of the pardoning board who had secretly dissented, went public, demanding the state pay Wilson for his lost years. An elderly citizen, 90-year-old James T. Scott, sent $10, a significant gift from a dying man, as a token of sympathy. He wanted his last act on Earth to be helping repair the injury done to an innocent man. Finally, the Alabama legislature passed House Bill 124. With 0 dissenting votes, they granted Bill Wilson $3,500 in relief, roughly $100,000 in today's money. Bill Wilson returned to his farm, a man who had been legally dead in the eyes of the law, only to be resurrected by the truth. The local papers at the time ended their coverage with a warning that still rings true today. It will be difficult to secure a conviction on circumstantial evidence in the future. The case of Bill Wilson remains a haunting reminder that in the search for justice, rumors are a wildfire, and proof is sometimes only as deep as the bones we choose to see. If you want to journey deeper into the shadows of history and uncover more stories that the world tried to bury, make sure to like the video and subscribe to Decades of Darkness. We'll be here to guide you through the cold cases and forgotten mysteries of the past. Until next time, leave a light on.